We've all at some point in our lives been worried about somebody who is suicidal, right? I mean, if not, you probably wouldn't be on this podcast. One of the most popular myths that I hear is I don't want to tell them I'm worried about them or ask them about it because I don't want to give them the idea or make them think they should. In today's episode, we're going to talk about this myth specifically and why it's a myth and some of the research behind it. So, welcome to the Suicide Prevention Lady podcast, where we make intervention easy. I'm Dr. Ricky Turner, your host. I'm a suicide intervention expert, keynote speaker, and trainer all across the country. Please take note, I am the thinky kind of doctor and not the medical professional doctor. So please do not take anything in this podcast as medical advice. So when I talk to people, so many times I hear, oh, but I would never want to give them the idea. I would never want to make them think that they should be considering suicide as an option. And it's a valid concern. I don't want to dismiss this concern in any form or fashion. This is something that keeps people from acting. And ultimately, the idea that they're making it worse or they're going to give them the idea, it's out of concern for the other person. And I am all about having concern for the other person. So let's talk about why it's a myth. Now, obviously, you can't raise your hands. This is not a live discussion, but I want you to think to yourself and just kind of 1, 2 on your hand or raise your own hand. See if this applies to you. Okay. Have you ever known what suicide is? I'm going to guess everybody says yes. Everybody's on a podcast about suicide. Okay. Now, so you know what suicide is. Do you know about ways that people die by suicide? Do you know methods that people use? Okay. I'm going to assume everybody said yes there as well. If you had to, if I was like, yeah, you're going to have to do this today for some reason, which I would never. Oh my gosh, this is a weird scenario. But if you wanted to today, do you know how you could end your life? And I know that's a really dark question. I recognize that, but hear me out. I'm going on a purpose here, and my dog is jumping out of my lap. I asked that question because, again, I believe most of us are going to say yes to this. Most, if not all of us, are going to say yes to this, right? We see movies, we see the news. We know how some of us know people who have done this before, right? So we know how cars work. We know how firearms work. We know how pills work, etc. We know all of these things, okay? So what is keeping you from doing it? What is keeping you from attempting suicide? I'm going to guess it's you don't want to. It's that simple. I've certainly know lots and lots and lots of different ways that people have done this, right? And to me, it's never really been an option for me. It's never been something that I considered. It's never been really on my radar to be like, yeah, I need to start thinking about this. I think I want to exit. That's not how it works for me. So someone asking me, hey, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Are you considering suicide? And that's a simple no for me because I'm not. It's not like, let's do this another way. I like to use this in my trainings, this example. Think of your least favorite food on the planet. Least favorite. By least favorite, I mean you're not gonna eat it. All right. Most of us have at least one thing that we're just like, oh, can't do it. Can't do it. Not going to happen. Surprisingly for the audience, mine is grapefruit. I don't like grapefruit. I even wanted to like grapefruit. Like I'll go a step further. It's not even that I just don't have any interest in it. I do. I've heard all of the wonderful many health benefits of it even, and I've tried it browned, broiled, fried, in a can, in a juice. with salt, brown sugar. No, no, it's awful to me. I'd honestly rather lick my kitchen floor clean than to have to eat a grapefruit. So if you came up to me and you said, "Hey, Ricky, would you like a grapefruit?" I'm gonna say, "No, thank you." And that's gonna be the end of that discussion. I don't care how you prepare it. I don't want it. All right. I'm going to guess the same for you. A lot of people bring up Brussels sprouts. A lot of people bring up tomatoes. There's very strong feelings back and forth on some different types of foods. And even if I was like, "Oh, but this is the best kind," even then, you're probably still going to go, "No, thanks. Rather be hungry." That's how I feel about grapefruit. So why is it any different with suicide? This is not a novel idea. We all know it exists. We all know many different ways that this could happen if it was on our wish list. So when you're talking to somebody who you think is suicidal, it's important to ask the question. We don't want to tiptoe around the subject. We don't want to make it more taboo than it needs to be, because that gives them the idea that they should be ashamed of these feelings and thoughts that they are having. And we don't want any shame with it at all. All we want is to help them. So I want you to trick your brain on that. If this is something if this is a myth that you have struggled with believing, I want you to trick your brain on that and just think it's just like I'm offering them a grapefruit. You're just asking a question. And when you ask the question, it's very direct and simple. We're not trying to beat around the bush. Again, we're just saying, listen, I'm worried about you. Are you considering suicide? Hey, I've noticed that you've not been yourself lately. Are you okay? You're not thinking of hurting yourself, are you? Something that brings it up and establishes you as a safe person for them to divulge this information to. All right. So I hope that this helped. If you have thought this particular myth in some way, it's a very popular one. Please don't be embarrassed if you have. I hope it was illuminating. So if it was helpful for you, what I would like you to do is subscribe, or leave a review for this podcast on wherever you're listening to your podcast. This alerts the algorithm that it should show it to more people and get the word out and help us grow this audience tremendously. Since this is a starting podcast, it would just mean the world to me if you would do that for us. And then if you like what you heard today and you want more, and you think that my presence at a training or an event at your organization or event would be helpful, drop me an email and or visit my website and let me know. I'm still booking. I have several slots open still for the rest of the year. But in the next episode, we're going to build off of this one and answer the question, well, what do I say if they say they're suicidal? If I've asked them this question, what on earth do I say next? Or even trickier, what if they ask me to not tell anybody? What if they make me promise not to tell anybody? So we'll cover that and more on the next podcast. So join us next time so you too can intervene with ease.